Dementia residents need to activate and stimulate their own thinking, either through their own volition and initiation, which the minority do, coming in, doing crosswords, quizzes or newspapers, or through their own interest, coming to the activities and activating their thinking through the workshops, the newspaper readings and the word games, etc. But if a person doesn't make any of these activities, either of their own volition or with the group work, then quite quickly they can be affected with the decline of dementia. There was one particular gentleman high up in the army, lived and breathed it, walked around like a colonel as if he was still in the army engagement. And he was very into, you've got to think, you've got to activate your intellect, and you can't stop thinking, and you've got to keep your train of thought going no matter what. And he was a big inspiration for others in their unit. And he explained to me that in the army, it's full on thinking. There's so many promotion exams that you have to do, apparently, for maintenance, driving, gunning, lots of other topics. And he said that you've got to then learn the topics, then instruct on the topics, and indeed he said you have to almost become, an instructor in military affairs. And I wasn't aware that the army was such a cognitively demanding exercise, but his son actually said to me one day when they were going out that he'd always been super intelligent. So this man made the best of the situation. He'd really thrown himself into it. Intellectual engagement was high. And leaving the army, he continued to think as if he was in the army. You could speak to him about any aspect of history, Mohenjo-Daro, Mesopotamia, way, way back, right through to rockets and global warming. Knew the lot, could converse on the lot, highly articulate. So when he used to lie on his bed, he'd just think things through. He just had this remarkable ability to just keep thinking. He didn't need crosswords or quizzes or the newspaper to keep his thinking stimulated. He's the only person I've met like this, by the way, and he was in a dementia unit. But it was remarkable, the abilities he had. But he did have dementia, of course. That's why he was there. There was only one instance where I picked up on this, because he used to say, that the people at the unit here, he said, don't realise they have dementia. They don't realise that they have problems with time warping or that they lose things. And anyway, he said it's not a good word. Memory loss is a lot better than dementia. And most of the residents in the dementia unit much preferred memory loss. Nobody wanted to have that stigmatised word dementia mentioned unless it was necessary to explain certain things clinically, which sometimes it is. But this particular gentleman from the army with this wonderful intellect and intelligence, the only time I picked up on he had good direction orientation as well, which often is a lag. He could find his room, he knew all his way around the unit, he never got lost. He taught me all about surveillance, actually, that in the army, you've got to be able to be aware of your surroundings, not just the room you're in, but all the surroundings. So looking outside the window, having that orientation to all the buildings, the roads, everything outside the unit enabled you to have orientation within it. So even if he did have limited direction orientation, which 60% of dementia residents do, somehow he was able to compensate. But the one thing that he did have a lag with was he came to the nurses' station one morning and he said to us all, where's my razor? I've lost my razor. And the charge nurse said, it's in the cup below your mirror in your bathroom, same place as it always is. Now this continued to happen morning after, every day, morning after, week after week. In fact, he was losing his razor, which wasn't lost, it was in the same place in the bathroom, till eventually I said to him, look, I know you're an intelligent man in every way, but because of the dementia, you do have a memory problem and you're forgetting that your razor is in the same place where it is every day in your bathroom, in the cup, above the sink below the mirror. And immediately cognitive switch, he said, fine, thank you, I'll grow a beard then. I'll grow a beard then, no problem. So he was able to cognitively use his intellect to switch, okay, I've got a memory loss. I don't know where my razor is, even though it's in the same place every day. Forget about it. Solution, grow a beard, or someone else can find it for me. And he never mentioned it again. So he was aware that he had dementia. Certainly he was aware, but he compensated, not overcompensated for it, but he was highly capable and was able to manage to live a life in the dementia unit in a highly articulate way and help the other residents enormously with his kindness and his generosity of spirit and with his communication skills, because often the women had no one to speak to. They were lonely, so they appreciated his conversation. Often they were distressed and they wanted to, have someone to speak to. And no, not to speak to, but they'd be calling out. The two big things were, where's my son, and I want to go home. And he'd just say, look, love, your home's here. We're all family. You've got your bedroom here, your bathroom, and we all live together. And because he was so charming and they thought him so delightful, they were happy with that. And then with the son coming, I think he just said, oh, well, he's coming soon, dear. Don't worry. Everything's all right. And it was, because he was the one that explained it to them. No one else could de-escalate them like he could. But the way he used his intellect, as he said, sometimes you just have to come down intellectually a step or two to get to the level of these ladies. And he said, whatever it is, whatever it takes, just connect with them at their mental ability, at their mental level, and then you can answer their questions and settle them and help them. God, what a generous man, because he had that, he had the intelligence to know 3,000 years of history. And he was perfectly happy speaking to these women that were confused and upset with all their dementia problems, and just go through with them step by step. He'd give everyone a good 5 minutes every morning, whatever they needed to help them calm down. I think he considered that his job. He took that up as his job. That's what he did. 5 hours a day he'd be with those, well, maybe 4 hours a day, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. He'd just go around helping everyone. So that was his job. And because of that, he was able to keep cognitively clear, motivated, animated, articulate. Yeah, he never deteriorated because of that. So if the person can find a purpose as well in the dementia unit within the community, that helps a lot. It really does. So I've written about these topics at length in these two books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, and on Amazon, eBooks Popular, and my website, pietavalentine.com. So these books are like DIY educationals at the back, epilogues on how you can help your family, friends and family going into a dementia unit. This one is more for going into a dementia unit and everything to help in that, and when people are living in the unit and how to help with any issues that arise with that. So DIY educationals really the second half, and the first half is a novel of the dementia residents and their day-to-day lives and what they go through. So thank you for your support and your likes, and please subscribe. Thank you.